So Galton, he could have made a career as an explorer, and he could have been one of the preeminent Victorian explorers, but actually he never undertakes another expedition. His life takes another turn. He settles into a little domestic routine. He buys a house at 42 Rutland Gate in South Kensington, there it is. It's meant to have a blue plaque, and it hasn't. It's got a sort of weird grey plaque. And I keep meaning to ring up the blue plaque people and ask them about it. I sort of can't be bothered. But he bought this lovely house and he lived there really for the rest of his life. It's a slightly fallow period for Galton here. He's sort of pottering at home, but his mind is incredibly active. He's always thinking and always counting. And so he has to occupy himself with counting and with measuring. So having moved into the house, he occupies himself with, for example, working out how much gold there is in the world and whether it would all fit in his house or not. Well, we've all done it, haven't we? You move into a new house, what's the first thing you do? Don't bother unpacking those books, let's work out how much gold there is in the world and whether or not it would all fit in our house. So he does this calculation. Again, not making it up, there's the calculations. And he determines that not only would all the gold in the world fit in his house, it would all fit in his dining room with 94 cubic feet to spare. Which is a nice little detail for the estate agents when they're sell. So having cracked the gold question, he's still in this sort of domestic trough. He spends several months then trying to calculate a formula for the perfect cup of tea. Months he spends on this. Sadly, we don't have the formula. We don't know whether they ever actually cracked it, but we do have some of his working out. And that is some of his working out for his formula. I'm sure I don't need to, it's fairly self-explanatory, really, isn't it? C is obviously the required capacity, N the number of ounces of water used, E the excess of temperature of water above that of the teapot, and T, I'm sure you can work it out, is of course the additional temperature attained by the pot after the water has been poured in. Shortly after this, Galton has a nervous breakdown, from which he recovers, unfortunately, and then devotes himself to his main interest for the rest of his life, really, which is the study of heredity. Here he is in the 1860s. There's something that really tickles me about these pictures. Do you want one of me writing at my desk, or one with a curled-up newspaper? Oh, hang the expense, let's do a diptych. Ooh, we can use both my chairs. So he writes in 1869, he writes a book called Hereditary Genius, Its Laws and Consequences, in which he attempts to prove, as you may guess from the title, that genius is hereditary. Galton is at the forefront of the nature versus nurture debate. Although he didn't coin the term himself, he certainly helped to popularise it. And if you want to know which side of the divide it falls on, he makes it very clear in this book. He says, "I have no patience with the hypothesis occasionally expressed that babies are born pretty much alike. It is in the most unqualified manner that I object to pretensions of natural equality." I told you he was a snob. So this is really the basis of all his eugenic principles. He has to believe in this, or else his ideas of eugenics and selective breeding wouldn't make any sense. And really he spends most of the rest of his life trying to prove this idea that talent and intelligence and physical prowess are all inherited. Again, the book goes down very well, and again, the letter that means most to him is a letter from Darwin. "I have only read about 50 pages of your book, but I must exhale myself, else something will go wrong in my inside. I do not think I ever in my life read anything more interesting and original, but it sets me thinking so much that I find it very hard work. But that is wholly the fault of my brain, and not of your beautifully clear style." Lovely, lovely letter from Darwin. And in fact,